Welcome to the Hateful Hitman Podcast. Brought to you by Hitman Fantasy Productions. Premier football coverage from college to NFL to fantasy and everything in between. And now, in the Hitman's Hideout, here's your host, Chris Strasbaugh.
The NFL season is over. Super Bowl 55 in the books. Welcome into the Hateful Hitman Podcast. Super Bowl recap. Season finale. I am Chris Strasbaugh. We got plenty of snow here in Ohio. It's cold. Snow just keeps getting us. We got more expected over the next couple of days. Hope you guys are hunkered down, staying warm wherever it is you live in this great country of ours. I'm going to talk a little bit about my Super Bowl reaction here in just a little bit. And then to seal off the season finale, we're going to talk pro days, combines, NFL draft, fantasy trading, fantasy startups. You know, as we gear this thing up for our postseason run, and as we all know by now, and even in Dynasty, there is no off-season in fantasy football. However, I did take a couple of weeks. I really needed to unhook and kind of take a break from it. It was a very successful season. I think I took 10 or 11 teams to the playoffs, took 5 teams to the championship, ended up winning 2 championships this year. So it was a very productive year, but I really needed a break. I needed to decompress for a couple of weeks, so I got away from it. Just tried to enjoy the last week of the NFL season, being the Super Bowl and stuff like that. And I didn't watch any of the pre-games. I didn't watch any of the hype building up. It was just too much. I mean, they start the pre-games at like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then the game isn't until 6:30. Unless you're a Tampa fan or a KC fan, or you got somebody that you're just, a big fan of. Say you're a big Mahomes fan, or you love Tyreek Hill or whatever. Tom Brady has a lot of followers. And then you're probably gearing up and watching it all afternoon. If it was the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, I'm sure I'd have been right there, had it on all day long, without a doubt, because they haven't been in it since I was in high school. So definitely would be a change if they were in it. But to me, all that extra time is it's just agonizing wait and build up, for the game to actually kick off. And then when it does, you're already exhausted and you've already eaten everything that you've bought. So you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I'm going to sit down and watch this game and hope it's good, which it really wasn't. It started off promising, and I was really shocked. I wasn't shocked that Tampa won the game. I was more shocked that they won it in a fashion that was, really a blowout. Every time they scored, you think, well, Mahomes is going to answer. Mahomes is going to answer. And he never did. I mean, KC mustered up 9 points. For a high-powered offense like that, just is so hard to stop, moving up and down the field. Tampa Bay's defense. To me, I know Tom Brady got the MVP, and it well-deserved. He had a good game. But to me, that Tampa Bay defense should have gotten, a whole team MVP. And Devin White in his second year at LSU is a fantastic, phenomenal young linebacker in this league. He's going to be big for years to come, and is able to get in on him on the ground floor as a rookie, in dynasty leagues and IDP. You've got a keeper or a very high trade value asset for many, many years. That kid is going to be amazing in this league, and he showed it, on every single play, defensively. Is almost like he was everywhere, in that game. So I enjoyed the game. I was one of the guys I picked Tampa to win. More or less just calling the upset, more or less just, to pick somebody different. They hadn't won since 2002. So it was somebody different. And, I'm not opposed to teams, going back to back and winning the championships, but it's hard to do. And it just shows you, out of all the Kansas City, what they've done this year, from start to finish, it shows you just how hard it is to repeat as the NFL champions. And they came in, and it seemed like they had no answers for anything Tampa did. And that goes to Bruce Arians and that coaching staff. What they implemented as far as game plan goes in the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and what they were going to do to pressure Mahomes. He was pressured the most times in quarterback history, and there's your formula. There's how you do it. They doubled Tyreek Hill. They were going to they gave up on Kelsey. He had a good game. He had 10 catches, over 100 yards. That's normal day at the office for Travis Kelsey, but they put 2 guys on Hill pretty much the whole entire game. They weren't going to get beat deep, and there was no run game. We knew that. We knew that going in. Their run game is not even a factor. To me, it's not even a threat. The threat of their running game and that offense, I mean, I'm going to go all the way back to the NFL draft when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I wasn't a big fan of that pick. To me, it just seemed like it was a little bit too much hype. And for one, he's small. He didn't have the season. I guess his season was okay for a rookie. He had decent numbers, but everybody was expecting him to do bigger things, and he just wasn't that guy in his rookie season. Now maybe they use him a little bit different in his second year. I don't know, but he's not going to get any bigger. But I mean, he is going to gain some experience. But I just really wasn't a big fan of that pick for them, in the first round. And to me, it showed up, throughout the year, and then in the Super Bowl, the running game is just not the basis of that offense. It's Mahomes, going out, throwing the ball deep, and the dude can make some seriously cool throws. I mean, he's throwing the ball sidearm, in between 2 defenders with the tightest spiral as you're ever going to see. I mean, it was something to watch. They're backed up deep on their own end there in the first quarter, I think it was, and they're backed up so far deep, and he just kind of just flicks it sidearm. And if you watch it, you can, because the camera's from behind him, and that spiral is just as tight as could possibly be, and just completely in between 2 guys. The guy's going to be good for years. He's going to be back. Kansas City's not going away. They're going to be back. He's going to have his time. But this game was all about Tom Brady and that defense. And look, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I've never been a Brady hater. Okay, I'm always one of those guys that I like the chip on the shoulder that he's carried with him his entire career. I like the fact that he, no matter how many accolades he accomplished in the NFL, he just wants to win rings. Okay, and he's done that over and over again. Now, I'm not a Patriot fan, and I'm not a Belichick fan. So to see him go to Tampa in year 1 and elevate that team to a championship, and see just how bad New England struggled at the quarterback position this year, there answers your questions. Is he a system guy? Is he just he's a success under that coaching system there? There's your answer. There's no more proof needed. Okay? He went in and he did it. He didn't throw for 500 yards. I kind of thought maybe he would. I thought Mahomes would go for 450 and Brady would go for 450. That's kind of where I thought that was going to go. And it was going to be whoever scores last or get the turnover late in the fourth quarter. Totally missed my mark on that. But I picked Tampa. And at halftime, I tweeted out, I'm not surprised at the score. You just can't go against Brady. You just can't. I've learned my lesson over and over and over again. You don't pick against Brady. Anytime it's a big game, anytime there's a world championship on the line, if he's still in uniform, he's going to give it 150%, and he's going to be better than the guy across from him, and that's what it was. They ran the ball good. Okay, Fournette had a good game, and Ronald Jones had some nice runs that were really crucial in the first half. But and then that opened up the passing game. Like I said, he didn't pass for a ton of yards, but the defense for Tampa shutting down Kansas City had to be the story of that Super Bowl. And, they came in and they knew what they were going to do, and they stuck with their plan, and they executed, and it ends a 31-9 score, and Tampa gets another championship, and I couldn't be happier for them. On to the offseason. Look, we've got a combined NFL Combine and College Pro Day this year due to that stupid COVID virus that is still affecting us and our sports. College basketball is taking a hit. The NBA is taking a hit. I'm hoping that softball takes off. College softball takes off maybe tonight. I'm hoping it's able to run, and baseball is supposed to be gearing up here before too long. But the coronavirus has obviously turned the Combine and Pro Days into a joint affair. So we're not going to see the weekend, at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis this year. And it's going to be interesting to see, how these kids do. You're probably going to see more kids running the 40. Kids that some of them might not run the 40 at the Combine. Well, they're going to run their 40 at the Pro Day. That most of them do. So you're going to see more 40s. You're going to see more quarterbacks throwing. Some of them choose not to throw at the Combine. So you're going to see a little bit more of the activity. You're just not going to see it on display, on the NFL Network, for 3 or 4 days, and that's a bummer. So we have to pay attention and see, when, all these pro days are taking off, and when your players, you're looking forward to seeing coming into the NFL, Travis Etienne's, Jamar Chase's, Rashad Bateman, Trevor Lawrence, all those guys, pay attention to that and follow Twitter, follow your sports, and they will point you in the right direction of when their pro days are. Spring games for college football as of right now, they're still on. I haven't heard anything about a cancellation of the spring game, other than there was a hint and whisper at Ohio State that they may not have a spring game. I'm not 100% up to date if that is going to happen or not. Definitely have to look into that and find out for sure. So after the pro days and the combine, collaboration, we're looking at with the NFL draft, and the NFL draft is going to be probably the same as it was last year. Probably no in-person draft. We'll probably have some kind of remote draft like we did last year, and it wasn't bad. It went fine. Went off without a hitch, and now they got a year to look back on and build on. So I think the NFL draft will be interesting, just like it was last year. As far as the NFL draft goes, I do not normally put out a mock draft, for the first round as far as fantasy goes and stuff like that. Maybe something that I look into, if I'm stuck at home for a couple of days because of the cold. But I normally don't. I just kind of look at what, the pros like Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, those guys do as far as, what they are. In my last podcast, I went through Daniel Jeremiah 1.0 mock draft. It was very interesting. If you look at Bucky Brooks, his is a little bit different. His just came out recently. His is a little bit different. I know that I've seen that he had Trey Lance and in a different place, and he had Justin Fields in a different place, Zach Wilson in a different place. So it's interesting to pay attention to these guys, and because then it's like, okay, who's going to get this wrong? But pay attention to all that stuff, because before you know it, we're going to be on. It's going to be on top of us. We're going to February, and then we're going to March, and then April's the draft. So it's around quick, and that leads me to my next two things I want to talk about here this week on the finale of the podcast for this season, and that's fantasy trading and fantasy startups. I want to stress: don't boredom trade. Okay. Don't be sitting at home because it's 2 degrees outside and you're going through your teams and you're like, I'm going to make a trade. And don't do that, okay? But this is a good time to start trading, okay? If you were kind of like me, you had to decompress for a little bit, and